No, you know what I wanted to talk about?
What?
So, like, I know last week you mentioned the whole, like, Kanye West stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was before he came out with, like, the whole, like, anti-Semitic comments and the thing about George Floyd.
Yeah, it was before.
Yeah.
I think that was all this week or maybe last week.
Yeah, exactly. And he got, like, bashed for it, everything. People were saying that he got his bank account closed or whatever. But it wasn't related to this whole fiasco. Everybody's trying to say that it's related to it. But apparently he lost his bank account like a month earlier because he was getting to like verbal altercations with the CEO of the company or like over online, something like that. But it was for a different reason altogether.
Oh.
But what it did make me realize is that Kanye was never a free thinker. And Kanye has never been a free thinker. Really? At least in like the social, like political realm, that kind of thing. He has never been a free thinker. He has truly been just a follower. And he when someone tells him something, because it's out of the norm and like is usually shunned by society, he immediately thinks that, oh, they must be right because society is shunning and trying to shut down what they're saying, not really looking at it critically and being like, maybe society has a reason they're trying to shut this down because maybe the rhetoric that's being spewed by the people that he's currently following is dangerous and can lead to negative things happening to people and actual like real ramifications to the people who he's speaking about.
Isn't there a word for that? Those people that intentionally go against the grain, essentially.
Shoot, I know we've
had spoken about this before.
Yeah. But there is a word for it, but
yeah.
I can't remember what that is now, but I think everyone knows, or whoever's listening, and you probably know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But it also like kind of made me think about, so you know how we have the idea of like leaders and followers, right? And they try and identify people as a leader versus a follower, but not realizing that being a leader and a follower is so much more gray than it really is, because a person can be a leader in one aspect and be a complete follower in the other aspect. And I feel like Kanye is probably the prime example of that. Because he's a leader, of course, in the music world as a producer. He's a leader in the fashion world, like in creating new trends and being more forward fashion, whatever that term is, whatever. But when it comes to like political and social ideologies, he is a pure follower. And I think the George Floyd situation, or his comments about George Floyd, actually saying that the cop didn't put his leg on George Floyd's neck, and saying that George Floyd actually died from like a fentanyl overdose, which was false statements, like it was proved to be false. We found out that the reason he was spewing all that is because he watched one documentary on like YouTube or by one of his friends that came up with all this biased information against the George Floyd case and other information that was also anti-Semitic, and he watched it and just like believed it all like it was gospel or something.
But I feel like there are a lot of people like that. They'll watch one thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like the overall thing is that people don't realize that like someone could be a follower in one aspect, but be a leader in one aspect and be a complete follower in the others.
I mean, I think he thinks that he's a leader in all aspects because he has such a large platform and his voice is on an amplified microphone, like everyone can hear him. So even if, the person who made that documentary, it probably got, quite a bit of views, but the minute Kanye started speaking on it, everyone's probably like, oh, what is that? It's like creating buzz,
Yeah. And unfortunately, like, because kids these days, or people in general, even our parents, people have lost the ability to be critical thinkers. And when they're told something, they immediately believe it. Yeah. Like that's just the reality of the situation. And a lot of his fans, who are younger people, look at him as a leader, as a pure leader in all aspects of what he's doing. So they feel like everything he says, they take everything he says, because unfortunately a lot of kids don't have real role models in their life anymore, right? Like I know we talk about when we talk about our Islamic side, like we have our prophet to look to as a role model, right? But a lot of these kids who are growing up in like secular societies right now don't have these leaders to look up to, or these good leaders,
like
I guess, positive leaders to look into. So they start creating their own people to look for. What's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, to look to as role models. My bad. Sorry. Yeah. But yeah, so they've chosen Kanye West as that person, and unfortunately, because Kanye West is being influenced by all these other things. He's then influencing these younger generations to believe the things that he's saying, right? We can lead to a lot of negative ramifications.
Yeah, no, I think not just Kanye West, but I think any celebrity that has younger, like when you have a younger fan base, and they trust you, they listen to whatever you're producing, your music, or if you're an actor, they watch your stuff.
Yeah.
In the past, I feel like artists were really careful with what they were saying from a political standpoint. You never really heard about people preaching like political standpoints or religious standpoints. They were always very careful. Like they did their art, they did their whatever it is they're doing, and then they lived their life, I think, because they were cognizant of the fact that they were a role model to a lot of young people.
Yeah.
Kanye is abusing that. Because he knows he has the influence. He knows that. He can't say, oh, no one's going to listen to me. He knows that. You know what I mean? And he knows that by saying certain things and wearing certain things, like he's getting reactions out of people. And so, you know, I don't know what his motive is. Like at this point, I actually don't know what he's doing.
Well, we spoke about this. Actually, we just did the Kilimanjaro podcast. Go ahead and listen to that, guys.
Yeah, I'll link them down below. Check them out.
Hopefully, I think they should be coming out the same week. This is coming out the same week. So you hear sort of what we mentioned there. But I think we were talking about his bipolarism. Yeah. And when I heard the perspective of another person who has bipolarism, they mentioned that one aspect of bipolarism is they feel good when they get a reaction out of people, so they will purposely say things that are reactionary or that they know will get a reaction just to feed that feeling that they get from it. And I feel like that's what we're seeing currently with Kanye West, and people are just feeding into it because everybody's trying to exploit it for what their own personal gain in a way.
Yeah, but it's working against him. I feel like it's not really helping him.
You never know, because we don't know what how his fans are reacting to this, right?
Yeah, but look at all the brands that he's partnered with.
I guess so, because the one thing he should be realizing now is that the people he's associated with have no loyalty to him. They don't care about him really, because it was clear, like let's say Trump, right? Who's another example that I can probably bring out next. But Trump, when all this stuff started happening, he distanced himself from Kanye. He's like, look at that, he's going crazy. Like, he started saying negative things about him, right? Usually you think those people would be backing him up. Right. But now even them, they're distancing themselves from him.
Because I think Trump, although he says some like outlandish things, he has like a limit to it. He'll never cross a certain limit of what he says.
Well, like if he feels like it's not going to benefit him, I feel like the only limit he has is if he feel like it's not going to benefit him.
Like if it hurts his brand?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's his limit. Kanye, no limits. He's just going to say whatever.
Yeah. So. And actually, to go back to Trump, I think that's a good example of how being a leader in one aspect does not translate to you being a leader in all these other aspects, right? But people perceive the fact that you're a leader in one realm, that you can be a good leader in all these other things, because he was a leader in the business world. At least he was perceived to be a leader in the business world. And a lot of the people who fell for her, like people who supported him, who ended up supporting him, thought that because he was a good business leader, that it would translate well to him being a good political and leader for the country, literally the president of the United States.
Yeah.
But we clearly saw that those two things do not translate very well, because being a good leader, like if another one would be like Ben Carson, who was a Republican who was actually appointed by Trump in, I forget which district or which part of the government he was appointed when he got into presidency. He was like probably one of the best doctors for heart surgery in the country, but he wasn't a politician, yet he was appointed a position in a high position in a political.
That's really random. He was a secretary of housing and urban development.
He was given a position for urban development, which he had no experience in, but because he was a leader in one realm in the medical field. People thought that could I guess Trump thought that would translate well, but it didn't. It didn't up, and their housing situation got worse after he got into leadership.
Exactly.
That position, I mean.
Yeah.
So that's a very dangerous thing that I've been seeing happening, and people aren't willing to critically look into these situations and realize that, being a leader maybe in one realm doesn't mean that you're going to be a leader in everything or a good leader in everything.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit unrealistic to even have that type of mindset. Like you may, for example, let's say you have a lead position at your job. Mm-hmm. Just because you excel in that specific industry or that specific field doesn't mean that, and I'm not saying you in particular, you know what I mean, but like you could go to your community and try to lead and it could go horribly, right? Like I think it's all just, there are certain people who just have like a well-rounded overall good leadership skills that can translate from like your work life, personal life, what is it called, like volunteer life, whatever you want to call it. Like there are some people who can do well in all fields.
Yeah, but it's very rare. That's for sure.
Is it?
Yeah. I think we all do this. Like, I know I keep saying, like, I'm pointing out, like, there are people who, but even in smaller aspects, people believe that, like, let's say there's a sheikh. Mm-hmm. He's a leader in the fact that, like, he's
in the mosque.
He's a good leader in the mosque, but maybe he's not the best husband. But people think because he's so he's so knowledgeable that would translate to every aspect of his life.
That's a good example, actually.
Or you see a lot of examples. I don't want to call out people, but let's say you have a sheikh who's like very knowledgeable and knows a lot about Islam and all the rules that come with it, but their kids are like degenerates.
So you're saying they're not a good lead in the household.
Exactly. But people, when they hear that, they're surprised.
Yeah.
But realistically, you shouldn't, like, of course it is surprised, but like you shouldn't really be surprised. Maybe, or like you will be surprised, but you subconsciously just thought that because they were good in this one thing, that it would translate well to every aspect of their life.
That's a good point. But
so
you know
we all
what?
Subconsciously do it.
It could be that, when you're in a lead position, you have to dedicate a lot of your time and energy to that one thing.
Yeah.
And so the other aspects of your life kind of have to take a back seat.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why.
Which is why I feel like people should be taking what leaders in certain places like Kanye, who's a leader in the music world or even the fashion world, everything else they say, they should take it more with a critical eye.
With a grain of salt.
With a grain of salt or a critical eye. Because like if Kanye came out with something crazy fashion-wise that seemed like really weird and out of place, there would be more of a... you wouldn't have to look at it as critically because you know that he's done this before and he's proven that as fashion moved forward that like he was actually right to begin with.
Yeah.
Same thing in the music world. Like he came out with like 808s and Heartbreaks, which was like purely just people weren't really into that type of using 808s like that type of beat selection and production. But then in the auto tune, right. But then it became more adopted in the music industry just a few years later. Yeah. He was ahead of the time in that place. So he's already proven that he's you can trust him in these aspects in those realms. But when it comes to the political world or the social political world, I guess, that's when you should take everything he says with a grain of salt and at least like look at it more critically. But unfortunately, a lot of his fans are not taught are not taught the ability to be able to look at things critically at this point. Because schools don't do that anymore. They don't allow you to think critically. And go ahead. Sorry, I'm kind of like rambling off here.
I was just thinking about it from the sense of like usually creatives are said to be like free thinkers and people who are like they don't conform to the boundaries of society. Like they do whatever they want type of thing. And I think Kanye believes that so much about himself that he thinks that his ideas about the social political world are his own, even if they were like highly influenced by something else. Yeah. So he thinks he's a leader, but you know, it's obviously that he's not. Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that like schools don't encourage critical thinking anymore because that's kind of true. Because imagine you're in school, you're learning something in social sciences or whatever, and you try to challenge what's in the textbook.
Yeah.
Your teacher wouldn't. I mean, it depends on the teacher, right? Like some teachers do encourage critical thinking, and sometimes they kind of just tell you to shut up and follow the curriculum.
Yeah, and you can't really fault the teacher for that because they're not really given the time.
Yeah.
They're not given the resources. Their classes are getting larger. The time they have with their students is getting much shorter. They're dealing with some school students who are in class, some of them who are remote.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with so many, like teaching has taken such a turn in the past few years because of COVID and just everything like that, that like, the next generation is not going to have, unfortunately, they're not going to have the skills that we were brought up with to be able to think critically. And even us alone, we weren't really taught it to a degree that it should be, but at least we were given a little bit of leeway. Like nowadays, any thought that doesn't follow the norm or what is socially or politically correct these days is not taught and is even like hidden away from students these days.
But I don't know. I don't think critical thinking is as pushed on students as much in schools, but I still think that the younger generation have that within them, because a lot of them still want to invoke change. Like they're not afraid now to come out and say, this is what I believe in, this is what I'm standing for. Whereas 20 years ago, I don't think the kids of that generation were so willing to put themselves out there and say what they believe.
But then when you start listening to what these people who are coming out and like saying, this is what I believe, when you critically look into how they got those beliefs or like where they're getting these thoughts from, like some of them aren't really, they're basically doing on a smaller scale what Kanye is doing. They watched a documentary online or a few documentaries online, took that as the truth without looking for other sources, trying to confirm what a lot of the information they were given is just like, what do you call it again when you prove something?
Fact check? Yeah,
they didn't fact check it correctly. They just took it as it is and then started spewing that or started making campaigns just based off of that idea.
I think that was the case, but when you are like social media, the way that it works now, Instagram, TikTok mostly, when you're on those platforms and you're trying to make a big claim about something, I don't know about you, but if you notice in the comment section, people will force you to fact check. They'll be like, where'd you get that from? Or they'll do the research and they'll put it in the comment section. So it forces you, before you make any sort of outlandish claim or just a different claim from what's normal in society, you have to bring your facts. Otherwise, you're not going to be a credible source anymore.
So you're seeing that online now?
Yeah, I would say so. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, sometimes I'll watch a documentary where the argument is presented in such a way that I'm kind of influenced. I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of interesting.
Shout out to all the 9/11 documentaries.
Yeah, those are looking good, I watch a lot of them. but if I'm gonna change my viewpoint on a certain topic, I'm gonna do my research first before I just switch up.
Yeah.
Like I'll look into it. I'll look into both sides, and I'm like, why do I think this way, or why is this the way that it is? Sometimes I kind of go down that like dark rabbit hole of conspiracy theories. So I fall for documentaries sometimes. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. Would you say you're like a trusting person?
Yeah.
So you just trust people right away, no matter what they say?
Not as much now, but once upon a time, I was the most naive of them all.
Yeah. Do you have anyone in your life where like no matter what they say, you would trust it? Like you would trust that person? Like if they told you something, like you would believe it right away?
No, I feel like I'm more of a skeptic now.
You're more of a skeptic now, right? Yeah, because I don't think I have anyone in my life that I can they can tell me something and I will immediately...
Like it'll take me time to like accept something.
Yeah, exactly. Without critically looking into it.
Yeah. No, my literal reaction will be like, I don't know about that. I haven't heard that before. Then I'll think about it.
Yeah.
And if it's something that like is really on my mind still, like I'm gonna look it up and look into it. Otherwise, I'll just disregard what they said.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, oh, whatever. That's your opinion. That's literally how it is. Like I don't hold on to things like unless it's something like if you told me some crazy like, oh, Sarah, like, I don't know, iPhones can give you cancer. I'd be like, Amir, you're just an Android fan. Like, I would literally say that to you.
Yeah.
But if it's something that's going to bother me and keep me up at night, I'm going to start looking into it. I'm going to be like, you know what, you were right.
Yeah. When do you think that switch happened? Because I feel like now, for some reason, the older generation has more of that trust in things that they see or hear online. Like when you see something on any of your social sites, whatever, don't you immediately be like, okay, what's the real story here? Or like, what's really going on? That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But like my parents or parents in general, I've noticed they'll see something on Facebook and they'll immediately believe like, this is actually happening, guys.
Yeah. You haven't heard of WhatsApp University? I'm sure all of our parents are, students of WhatsApp University.
Because they were originally they were the people telling us, don't believe everything you see online. Don't put your name out online, that kind of stuff, right?
Because now it's easy to say, Dr. So-and-so said that this and this and this will cause COVID, and then put it in this beautifully written fake article, and then post it in WhatsApp groups and share it. Like, you can fake credentials. You know what I mean? And I don't know if, this is not to say that our parents don't have critical thinking skills, but I think the way that the world works and the way that news has been transmitted has changed so much.
And so quickly, maybe?
Yeah, that now they're kind of like, maybe they have people that they trust, where if one of their siblings sent them something, I'm going to believe whatever they send me.
Yeah.
Or like if you told them something crazy, wouldn't they believe you?
Yeah, honestly, yeah. If I told see that's the thing. So I think we should be a lot more careful with our trust now. Like maybe back in the day where like information wasn't as easily accessible.
We believed everything.
Yeah, exactly. But now that you can actually like fact check everything and double check everything, trust should be a lot more. You should be a lot more frugal with your trust.
Yeah, 100%,
essentially.
100%.
And how do we teach this to them?
By life experience, my friend.
Because I try and tell them like, don't believe everything you see online.
So do I, but sometimes I fall for it too. So I have to practice what I preach.
Yeah, because there are a lot of cases like that where you'll see a video. Like I think this is gonna be kind of controversial, but do you remember that video where there was a dude who's walking through a New York park and he was like bird watching, and then there's that white woman with her dog who said that he like harassed her, and the video starts with him saying, I was just like watching birds and stuff, and then this woman like called the cops on me, and she started crying, getting hysterical and everything, and the woman ended up they found out who the woman was. She ended up losing her job. They basically like ruined her life. And then apparently later on it came out like in a longer part of the video, he was actually doing and saying certain things towards her that would elicit a response similar to what you saw in the video. But because he was calm at the beginning of the video and it didn't show the beginning part, then he didn't have that context, so it made her look worse than it really was.
So he was provoking her?
In a way. I can't say for sure. I believe I should have looked more into it right now because I saw this like a few months ago, so now my brain's kind of foggy on it. But there was a case like that where it was a lot more nuanced than people perceived it to be.
But did he actually harass her? Or was he just provoking
Or he was like saying things. I feel like her response was probably still over the top.
Yeah.
And not warranted for the situation. But it wasn't as black and white as it seemed. Like, it's not like she just randomly picked on this dude for no reason. Like, there was something or some exchange that happened before the video that caused her to feel unsafe at the moment.
But then that's the whole, like, goes back to, like, the perception of reality. And if he was recording, like, was he just randomly recording? Like, how did...
I can't remember now.
Oh,
but okay. I think that's also a thing that we have to be more mindful of, is that nowadays people can edit videos.
Yeah.
They can cut videos right at the part where if you had that previous context, maybe the response or the reaction you see is a lot more justified or a little bit more justified. Because I'm trying to think of specific cases, but I've seen this happen multiple times where like there'll be a video on like 6buzz or something where it'll show like someone punching another person in the face, and then if you see like the full video, it's because that person kicked them a second before, right? But because they cut it at the right part, they knew how to market it better, they got it out first, right?
That's true.
And that's why it's kind of hard because everybody wants to be first now, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to be first, like, having context is really as important to you.
Yeah, but then you're gonna lose your credibility. No, because even if you're the first person to post whatever, and then the other side, like how many times on TikTok have we seen? No, but
I don't agree.
I just then I
Yeah, no, okay. So the what we disagree on is that I feel like nowadays your credibility won't be as hurt even if you come out with the wrong story.
No, I disagree.
Because there's many cases where there's a story that comes out about someone like harassing another person. Especially there's a lot of like guys online, like influencers who are being
they're being held accountable.
There are claims of them like sexually harassing someone basically. And then that story goes out there where they say this girl allegedly said that this person harassed them. And then maybe a couple months later when the full facts come out, they find out that this person the girl made up the story and the guy actually didn't end up doing anything, or it wasn't as severe as what she said and like is how she perceived it to be, right? But the damage is already done. That person who was called out or who was said to have harassed the person has already been canceled and they're out. And then the companies, or not the companies, but the pages who originally put up that story, they might put out like a little like addendum on the original article saying this person was found to be not guilty or whatever. But people don't go back anymore. Everything is moving so fast that nobody's gonna go back and see, oh, was this actually true? They already have that in their mind, being like, okay, this person did this at that moment, and they don't have any incentive to go back and see if that was the truth or not.
But then that goes back to cancel culture, and I feel like we're actually like I actually feel it that we're starting to move away from cancel culture now, like where people are able to get that second chance to redeem themselves, and I'm talking about those in some sort of spotlight, whether it's online or whatever, so I think I still have to disagree. I don't know. I feel like even if a story comes out where they're the villain, if the truth comes out and they're actually not the villain, it might not get as much buzz, but sometimes it actually does, depending on the severity of the situation. Like if someone was so wrongfully accused of something, where in fact the reality of it was the complete opposite, I feel like the story could be just as big, if not bigger, because it's like, how could you lie on this person's name? What's the real story?
Yeah. It's just dangerous because you don't know who, like, maybe let's say the right people have the keys right now, but like in the 10 years from now, you don't know who's going to have the keys to that ban or who's going to have the ability to ban, right? So, what's a good example of that? There's a guy who's streaming on YouTube called Destiny. He's a guy, and he used to stream on Twitch, and he was actually he's still a progressive. Like he's super like, he really looks at the facts and everything like that. But then there was a debate where the trans debate came up, and this is when we were the having trans people in sports debate came up. Oh
yeah.
And he came out with the idea being like, okay, if these people are born a man or whatever, and they started transitioning, they shouldn't be able to play in women's sport after a year of starting their transition. And what happened?
I thought I saw a centipede.
This girl.
No, hold on. I swear I saw it, Amir.
There might be a couple around here. I'm playing. But yeah, so
I'm just let my legs float like this.
But so in this debate, he basically said like, yeah, okay, they probably shouldn't be playing in women's sport, and because he made that statement, he was banned from Twitch completely.
Really?
Yeah. And it was a completely logical statement. Like there was nothing really wrong. There a lot of people agreed with what he was saying. It wasn't extreme in any way. He was literally debating this with people, but he was banned for saying that, and he had to move on to YouTube. And everybody knows. So going back to your thing where people, you think that they would be more
forgiving?
No, they would be more like they would actually hope that these companies are more accountable. Like now, everybody on Twitch platform believes that ban was unnecessary, doesn't believe he should be banned. And everybody knows that there's nothing wrong with what he said, or at least like they might disagree, but it wasn't anything extreme. Right. Yet the platform still chooses to keep him banned. So these companies, they have no incentive to right their wrongs. Because then once they right their wrongs, I feel like they're going to feel like they're admitting their fault. And that might be worse to them than actually just keeping that person banned forever. So
that's kind of interesting. Like, I'm surprised that they didn't even get that big of a backlash, or like other, big Twitch users, whatever they're called, boycotting them because of that ban. Like, was this Destiny guy that big, or?
Oh yeah, he was huge.
Oh
yeah,
and he didn't have people supporting him by leaving Twitch.
No, see, so it shows you that because these companies or these major social platforms have so much power now, that even if they start abusing that power, they're not going to be held responsible for it. Even though you believe they're going to be held responsible for it, you feel like society's going to say something. They're not.
That's because they have scary.
So much. That's what I'm trying to say.
That I agree with, though. I'm not going to disagree with that.
And like they're using that ban hammer so often now, and almost like with blatant like disregard but people are just not paying attention because these are just the platforms they like using. They're not going to say anything if they feel like they're going to get hit in the crossfire. But
these platforms are only as powerful as the people who use it, right? Like if they need to remember that it's just like a celebrity. Like, you're only going to be as famous and as successful as the fans.
Who holds the power?
The people that consume the stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Because at that point, something can be so big. Like, they would have to do something so... Actually, no. Even then, like, even if something... YouTube did something super heinous that no one liked, I feel like it's so big at this point that people will feel like it's... what do you call it again? Leaving it outweighs... I mean, the consequences of leaving it outweighs the consequences of them staying there. I
think that's only true because people's livelihoods depend on YouTube.
Exactly.
Now. That's why.
So when they know people's livelihoods depend on it, they have no incentive to watch what they're doing. They like to be more careful with what they do.
That's wild. The times that we live in.
Which is why people would rather be first. And this I know is sort of different, but when you're talking about like these news sites and stuff, they'd rather be first than even to have the right information, even if their facts are not all there.
Yeah, no, I agree that being first does benefit you the most. But I still think that when the truth eventually comes out, it still sometimes can generate just as much buzz.
Eventually is too late for the internet.
It depends on how, of course it depends on how far along, right? Like you can make a post on Monday. Yeah. And then if you wait until 3 weeks later to be like, oh, wait, that was actually wrong, no one's going to care.
Yeah.
But if you wait or if you get the facts by Tuesday, Wednesday, your story is going to be just as big because it's still relevant.
Well, it depends on your size too, right? Because this is more of something that will affect people who are either on the rise or smaller, who don't have these big household names that everyone would know. Like if a false claim came out about The Rock, like that would be... People would be more critical of it, of course, right? Because everybody feels like they know The Rock. Everybody has like a little bit of a parasocial relationship with The Rock, so they're less likely to believe those claims right away.
For sure.
But if it's someone you don't know and you have no incentive to know who they are, you're gonna be like, okay, if they did that, sure, they probably did do it.
But no, like, okay, let's get really into the nitty gritty here. For example, okay, you know the whole debate of did Tory Lanez actually shoot Meg Thee Stallion?
Yeah.
Like, some people believe that to this day, some people believe that he really did, and some people believe that he really didn't.
Yeah.
Even if she got police reports, or, even her police reports are in question, or the scan, or whatever she did. Something as simple as that. They both presented facts, and there's still no like ultimate answer.
It's still being. It's still going back and forth in court, right? It's still being judified. What is it called?
No, judified is not a word.
I don't know. I just made it. It's being judified now.
It's still being determined. I don't know.
It's still a trial. It's still on trial. That's what it is.
Yeah. But, and even then, like, how do you determine what's right? Because if she has a friggin' X-ray of her foot with a bullet in it or a hole in it,
well, if she doesn't. Technically, she has glass fragments, but
okay. So what I mean?
I'm just saying, man. The facts are kind of. I'm not picking each side, but at that point, stories like that, like to a degree, like facts don't really matter to people sometimes. It's really your bias. Like some people, they can hear all the facts that show that Tory Lane's within the right.
Yeah.
And they'll still believe Megan over him.
Because they have such an allegiance to her.
Yeah. Or they just like her more. Purely, they don't even have to like Megan. They can just dislike Tory Lane.
Yeah. It's like he had to have shot
They have
her.
no incentive to know what the facts are, right? So they'll just believe, or they'll choose to believe the story that doesn't work in that person's favor.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, but we all do that. I feel like we all have that. And I'm trying to think of an example right now, something that we would purposely do. Like if your own family member murdered someone and like you knew it, but publicly, even you know that, you would still fight for them and like say, oh no, that person's lying, because you know, well, maybe if you're actually like, be like, okay, he is a bad guy, whatever. But like if you really like fought for your family member and you knew, okay, maybe they might have actually done it, but because you have that bias of them being your family member, you'll do everything in your mind. You'll do some mental gymnastics to believe that what they did may have been justified, or maybe they didn't actually do it, or they didn't intend to do it, even though in the facts of the situation, when the facts actually come out that they actually did do all the things that you don't believe they did.
If I don't got the facts, I ain't gonna comment on it. No, for real. Because like there's on one hand, of course, we're going to relate it to our principles in Islam. You're going to give someone the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But sometimes when things are very black, like if there's a story that comes out that says Amir shot somebody, you guys all know Amir's personality by now. Would you believe that? No. I would be like defending you to the day I die. But if behind closed doors, Amir's like, okay, listen, Sada, so this guy really pissed me off. And honestly, I was just having a bad day. So pow, pow. I'd be like, what? Like, you know what I mean? But, and then after that point, now that I know the facts, what would I do? I'd be like, mistakes happen.
You would do some like...
I would just say like, yes. I mean, first of all, I wouldn't speak on it with other people.
Yeah.
But if that had to happen, I would say, yeah, like it happened. Shit happens. People make mistakes.
Yeah. So you try and justify it in your mind because like you just want.
I wouldn't justify it. I'm not going to agree with your actions because even if it's your own family members and they do something that's wrong, you don't have to agree.
When I say justify, I mean like you would in some way try to convince yourself that maybe he did it in self-defense.
Unless you told me that, I don't know if I would.
You wouldn't think that I would try and
I'd give you
possibly murder someone in self-defense, huh?
You wouldn't murder them though. I know you like that's just not you. Amir,
I feel like I can murder someone.
don't be putting that online. He's not a murderer. Don't be putting that online, Amir. Cut that out.
What?
Cut that part.
Nah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
What?
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
That's on you. But you know what I mean? Like I know what you're trying to get at because it's your family member and you're very like protective over them. But if someone's wrong, they're wrong. Even if let's say like you and Sabri get into an argument, if Sabri's wrong, he's wrong. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Like I'm not gonna pick, or even if it's a stranger and you. If the stranger's right, like yeah, I'll be in the back, like shut the f up. Yeah, Amir's right. But when we leave, I'm gonna be like, you were wrong.
Yeah,
you were so wrong because I'm gonna support you in front of other people.
Yeah,
but behind closed doors, I'm gonna be like, you were wrong, Amir, and this is why you're wrong. You know, like I think that whole idea of like blind support, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, and
I know I might have just contradicted myself because you're like. You just said you would support me in front of the guy, but but I'm telling you to your face, like, no, you were actually wrong. Like,
yeah,
you know, whatever. But I don't know. I feel like I can't do the blind supporting.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't blind.
You wouldn't either. When I've vented to you in the past, sometimes I'll tell you things and you remain calm and you kind of look at it from an analytical standpoint.
Yeah.
See?
As unbiased as possible.
And if I'm in the wrong, you'll straight up be like, you know, Sada, like maybe you should look at it in this way. You see, you do it too.
Yeah.
But if I'm right and the other person that I'm not talking about them, but like the situation, the other person's wrong. Yeah. You'll be like, yeah, that's a little weird. But honestly, don't let it get to you. That's what you always say.
Okay. Yeah. I would be.
See?
So like if I pulled up to your house one day with like a body and said, yo, we got to hide this. What are you going to do?
All right, let's go.
Okay. Just trying to make sure. Okay.
But you better do the same for me.
What?
You better do the same for me, because
Yeah, I got 911 on speed dial. What are you talking about? I'm playing.
listen, after last week, okay,
Yeah.
let's just clarify, because I feel like some people here in the comment section of our last clip, just to clarify, because they're like, oh yeah, you know what, when I get married, I'm gonna disappear too.
Mm-hmm. Yo, honestly, I know I was right, and everybody is confirming that I was right.
Who's on your side?
There were so many people in the comments.
There were a couple people.
By the way,
that
we're talking
said,
about when I said that I would disappear when I get married. There are so many people who are married, who are recently, not recently, but like, yeah, even recently married, who are like, yeah, Amir's about right. That's basically what happened.
I think from a friend standpoint, yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
But in terms of family, like if I get married, I'm still gonna see my family. That's how I see it.
I didn't say family. I said like hang out with friends and stuff.
Yeah, but you grouped me into that. That's why I was like, what did you say?
Okay, yeah. But even for like family events, I'll be like, yeah, y'all see us at our kid's birthday.
No, I feel like Ramadan and Eid and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
No, I'm talking about like random outings and stuff.
But exactly. But what I was trying to say to you was that I always see you once a week anyways. Like because we're bound by this podcast, whether we hang out or not, I'm always going to see you.
Yeah.
Like I've always said to you guys, like this is the most I've ever seen this guy in my entire life. So whether you get married or not, even if we don't hang out outside of recording, we're like, this in itself is almost like a hangout session because we get to talk and hang out or whatever. You know what I mean? So, you know, maybe you got to take it up with Nabat.
Oh yeah, she was definitely, she was like,
Nabat was ready to swing on you. I'm just saying she was mad.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we're gonna take a quick break here, reset everything, and we'll be back in just a second. Okay, so this kind of goes into like, I'm gonna talk to you about the gym for a second. So there's something called gym etiquette.
Yeah, I know that.
Everyone knows gym etiquette. You guys should know this. First off, just a couple things to mention that recently happened. If your gym has only 3 squat racks, don't do anything on those racks that doesn't involve you doing squats. Like if you're gonna do like, I don't know, rows with the bar, take the bar off the squat rack, put it on the floor somewhere away from the squat rack so someone else can get a bar at least, and put it onto the squat rack. You know how many people will like walk up to the squat rack, like put the bar, there's like a little area that's more for like protecting in case you like can't get back up. They have guards, right? Mm-hmm. They'll put the bar on the guards and they'll pull it off and start doing like either deadlifts or rolls with it right in front of the squat rack. You only have 3 squat racks. What are you doing? We need to act like, you know, we're all supposed to work out here.
Yeah.
But so something happened the other day where there was a dude. Mm-hmm. There's Smith machines at the gyms too. Mm-hmm. They have basically it's like a bar that's being held in, and there's a dude just sitting on it doing overhead press. It looks like he was just working out or whatever, right? And then in front of the Smith machine, there's cables, and there was another guy doing tricep pushdowns. And he was just he did like one set, and then his boy came up, and someone that I know as well. They just started like talking, conversating, right? And of course they were going on a little long, but people, you get distracted, right? But the dude on the Smith machine, for some reason, he like had to make a comment. He's like, "Yo, you just gonna talk forever, man? Like I want to use that thing after you too. Like I've been waiting forever." Keep in mind, there's like 6 cable machines in this gym and 4 ropes. The guy was using ropes. He's like, I want to use rope. I'm like, there's 4 ropes in this whole gym. So then the dude who was doing the rope pulls, he's like, oh, okay, sorry, man. Like he tried to be cordial about it, right? Even though the dude was way out of line who was saying it. He goes, he takes the rope, he like starts doing a set. And then the dude just like, who was doing on the machine, he starts making more comments, like for no reason. He didn't need to make these comments. He's like, yo, like you guys are always wasting time or whatever. And then the dude who's doing the rope pulls, he's like, what are you talking about? Like he was just starting, like at first he was like trying to be cordial, but then he's like, this guy's like, what are you on at this moment? And then the dude on the Smith machine just keeps talking. And the one who's doing the rope pull downs, his boys pull up. He has like 3 or 4 of them who are also working out with him. So they were going to also use the machine. So the guy on the Smith machine starts getting more agitated to the point where he stands up.
Oh, gosh.
And he starts like getting a little bit more aggressive towards them. And then the guy who's on the ropes and his boys like one of his boys was like really not having it. He just walked up and he's like, "What you want to do, man?" Like they started like going back and forth, and to the point where one of them was about to swing.
Oh my god!
And the trainers had to like jump in. Like one of the trainers who was watching it, just had to like jump in the middle and be like, "Yo, chill." Like guys started like walking in.
Yeah.
And what do you call it? I was doing like, what do you call it? The leg. What do you call it? The calf raises right next to this.
Yes.
I'm just watching this all go down, and every guy in his mind, he's like, at what point do I have to step in, right? Because the guy who he was harassing, technically, I didn't know him, but I knew his boys.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, as a man, when you have to step in, right? But thankfully, they were sort of able to calm it down. But then this guy who was on the Smith machine, he ends up going to the rope machine.
Yeah.
Afterwards, but then he takes the rope off. He doesn't end up using the rope. He uses like something else on the machine. And then I don't know if he was too agitated, but he started walking around the gym, wasting time. When on the machine he was just talking about them wasting time on, and starts like walking past the guys he just got into an argument with, which is the last thing you want to do because everybody's high on, like, they have testosterone going through them, right? Everybody who has adrenaline going through them. Like, why would you try and agitate the situation?
Right.
And thankfully, like, nothing else happened after that. But funny enough, like a few days later, or actually literally like yesterday or something, I saw a report. I think it was after I went to the movies. I saw a report on the news saying, "Man stabbed at Scarborough gym." And I was like,
"Oh my God."
No.
He got stabbed?
No, wait. Oh. That was my reaction. I was like, "Oh, shoot, did this actually go down?" Because like I knew they still had beef.
Yeah.
And it was literally at the time that I normally go to the gym. But that day, I just chose to go and watch a movie instead. So I would have been there for it. And I went back today, actually, this morning.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I saw the guys who were defending themselves. I saw them there. I was like, okay, these guys.
You didn't ask them?
Huh? No, I didn't ask them because I don't think they were there at the time. I don't know if they were there. I should have asked them today.
Yeah,
but I saw them there. I didn't see the other guy, so I don't know if he was still involved. But thankfully, I don't think either of them were involved in it. But when I first saw that story, I was like, oh shoot, did something actually go down? Like, did this actually escalate into something? But thankfully, none of them actually got stabbed for it, and it was actually. Hopefully the person who got stabbed is okay, because they actually had like severe injuries.
They got stabbed at the gym?
Yeah, at my gym.
And you still trying to go there?
I went literally the next morning.
They didn't close it down?
To show you how much of a bad person I am, I was more concerned with whether the gym was going to be closed the next morning or not.
Even though you have all this equipment at home, you could just work out here.
No, I could have just gone to another LA Fitness.
Or that.
Yeah, there's literally like 3 or 4 around. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if I was personally in that situation, I would have been like, you're not even using the Smith machine properly. Because he wasn't, right? He was just using the little bench.
He was doing like overhead press with it or whatever. Oh, so which is fine. Okay, yeah, fine. He was still using it. But like when you're using a machine, and like, first off, I don't even think he even told the other dude that he was waiting for it.
You're supposed to tell them, right? Like, hey,
yeah,
when
you're
done,
supposed to be like, hey, how many sets do you have?
Oh.
But even then, if this gym has 4 more ropes available to you, and they have multiple cable machines, why do you want this specific one?
Because you probably didn't want to move. It's too much effort.
No, it's literally. there's a room. It's the one that has the bar in the middle, so it's connected, right? There's a rope pulley thing here, and there's one 2 feet to the side of it. So he literally could have gotten another rope and done that.
Yeah,
like most proper gym goers will actually go out of their way to just do something to not inconvenience people. Like a lot of gym goers actually won't even feel the incentive to like ask the person how many sets they have. They'll just wait and maybe like subconsciously or not conscious, like so the other person will at one point acknowledge the fact that they're waiting and maybe tell them, or they'll just wait for it to be done.
Yeah.
Or like for me, sometimes if I feel like it's too many people using it, I know they're going to take a while and I know everything else is taken, I'll just modify my workout.
Yeah.
Like people don't realize you can just modify your workout.
Maybe they don't want to modify it. Like not everybody's considerate though.
Okay, I'm just saying like these are the different levels to it, right? But at first, you should always ask someone, or like if you're going to say anything, just ask them, like let them know that you're waiting.
Yeah.
And even if they choose to take longer, that's their right. They have a membership to the gym. They're paying to be able to come here and do whatever they want, or at least work on whatever equipment as long as they want. If they're there all day, That's the right. Of course, it might not be the best thing to do, and people might look at you weird, but that's your choice at the end of the day, and you shouldn't be aggravated for someone taking the whole day on a machine. That's why they have multiple machines for things, right?
Right.
But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind when you're going to the gym. Like, just like keep in mind that like everybody's doing their own thing. You don't know. Maybe that person had an injury and they had to take longer breaks because, like, for me, I had my back injury or like my this weird tendon issue. So I had to take longer breaks and like massage between workouts. So I didn't pull anything. But that just meant that my time between sets was double the length.
Yeah.
But people don't know that. They don't see that, right? So you have to kind of be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and just try and think, okay, maybe there's a reason they're taking longer to do this.
My gym anxiety is so bad. If I see someone using something, I just won't use it.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of guys. Like, there's one guy I know who completely jacked, like probably the most muscle I've seen on anyone. But he actively chooses just to not, like, to be as unintrusive as possible. So like if he sees someone using his machine, he'll modify and do something else. If someone's doing even if someone like, oh shoot, sorry, I'm gonna move my leg. I think even if like someone he's working on a machine and he goes away for longer than he expected and he comes back and sees someone else using it, he'll just move on to something else. He'll like modify, maybe find another machine, that kind of thing, right? Like he'll try and be, he's a security guard. He has the ability and the strength to be more aggressive and like to assert himself. But he chooses not to. Yeah, he chooses not to.
Good for him.
Yeah, he's like he's not even dry, but like he's like more of a gentle guy. But it shows you that like you don't have to. Well, to go to your gym anxiety thing, the guys who are the most dedicated to gym, like the people you see with like the big muscle and stuff, like usually the nicest guys.
No, they look the scariest though.
Yeah, that's the thing. In the gym, it's the opposite. The scariest looking guys are usually the nicest ones. It's usually the guys who like don't look like what they're doing, don't look like they know what they're doing. But like walk around like they've been there for years are the ones who are like mostly the most braggadocious. Like I saw one guy at the gym that would literally walk around with his arms like to his side, like a cartoon character kind of way, like holding his arms to his side. He had no definition in his body, nothing, skin and bones. Now he's just walking around like he has like boulders for arms, like he's carrying jugs under his arms or something, invisible jugs.
He probably just pulled something and he was stuck in this.
He always walked around like this. Like going like he was
he's manifesting like that physique.
Yeah, like he's walking down, you know, the lane in WWF or WWE. He's like that.
He's walking down the ramp.
Yeah, walking down the ramp. He's constantly walking down the ramp.
No, that's weird.
Yeah, but ironically, it's like the guys who look like that, they're mostly the ones who are the jerks in the gym.
That or like if they're in groups of like 3-4. I hate when people work out. I hate that so much. I know, like, I support you working out with your friends and all, but like when you're at the gym by yourself and you're trying to use the weights, but there's like 4 guys there, you're like, yeah, never mind. I'm just gonna go back on the treadmill or something.
And re-rack your weights, guys. I hate it when people don't re-rack their weights.
They just leave them.
Yeah, like I'm at the gym. I think I've mentioned this before, where like if things aren't put back in the right place and I'm waiting in between sets, I will just start putting stuff back in the right place.
Stop doing that.
I can't. I literally, like, people...
You don't work there. Don't do it.
Like, they'll finish their workout and they'll just leave all the weights. They'll leave dumbbells in the front of, like, overhead press machines.
Yeah, but, like, are you going to put it back?
No, the person won't be there anymore. They disappear.
Oh, they just leave.
Yeah, unless there's invisible workers there or something.
I would have just thrown the dumbbell at them. Probably would have got banned from the gym, but, you know.
There have been some times where I'll be waiting on machine, or I wouldn't be waiting on machine. Like I'll be doing something and I see someone finish their workout, and I won't like tell them re-rack your weights. I'll be like, "Oh, are you re-racking that?" Or I like try and like like give them good advice.
Yeah.
Be like, "Oh, that person you probably want to put that back," that kind of thing.
Do they actually do it though?
Sometimes I don't know. Yeah, most of the time they will.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now they're like confronted. They're like, down.
Yeah. And if enough people in the gym know you, like it's the point, I'm at the point where like I've been there for so long and like my
You have a reputation at the gym.
Yeah, like a bit of a reputation at the gym.
It's okay, you can say it. I know you're like,
I was literally trying to calculate, like, how do I say this? I'll sound like a jerk.
I know. I said it for you. You're all good.
Yeah, but if people respect you in that case, then they're more inclined to like listen to you, right? Because then now people just come up to me for advice and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Like just randomly in the middle of your workout, or they just wait till you're like standing there?
No, while we're in the middle of the workout kind of thing, like
That's
I'm
annoying.
doing rows. Huh?
That's annoying.
No, I'm telling you, the guys who have been there the longest and actually look and like not look the scariest, but maybe most intimidating are actually probably the nicest guys.
I'll test that theory out.
Yeah.
And if I get punched in, I mean, I don't think I'll get punched in the face, but if I am intimidated and the intimidation lasts, as in they don't change my mind, I'm going to say that you are wrong in that theory.
Nah, well, like, don't just randomly come up to a guy now, okay? That's
like,
just
hey,
weird.
can you help me?
Yeah, exactly. No, but there are always going to be people who are willing to help. I feel like most guys are willing to help because like just it's also an ego boost for them for the most part. Not saying it's an ego boost for me.
It definitely is.
I'm just out here.
Amir loves when you guys ask him for workout advice. He is so happy when someone says, "Hey, can you give me advice on my form?" He'll be like, "Gladly."
Yeah, I'm a gym rat. Okay, I'm proud, gym rat, and proud. That's all it is.
Maybe I should switch to LA Fitness.
You should, man. Just come.
Yeah, but it's just like such a hassle.
Nah, man. Just make it happen. There's so many people I've tried to get to come to the gym with me. And
but you have to modify the workouts because I've worked out with you before, like even just in the home, and like I'm in pain for 3 days. Yeah,
because you have to do it often. And also, that was before I learned about like how to properly roll out and like stretch afterwards and all that stuff. Like I'm paying for it now. Even for my knees are done at this point. But as long as you learn how to do things to preemptively like save yourself from injury, then you should be okay. Yeah, because and a lot of that, what they call DOMS, is what you're feeling. I forget what it breaks down to, but it's called DOMS. Where you get that like that muscle tension afterwards. Yeah, that's called DOMS, and that one comes just because you haven't worked in so long. And you're literally tearing the muscle fibers. So they'll, in order for them to recover, like they're torn, but it's like when you get bruised, right? It needs time to recover. So that's basically what's happening.
It hurts so bad, but it feels so good because you're like, yes,
and it just means you're getting stronger.
Muscles are forming.
Yeah, but that goes away after you get more consistent. You don't have as much of that come up anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
So it definitely really helps. But yeah, man, just be more like, what do you call it?
Considerate at the gym.
Considerate at the gym. What other advice can I give for the gym?
Maybe you should do like do's and don'ts gym etiquette, like a whole video dedicated
Did we not already do do's and don'ts? I don't know.
I don't know if we ever like.
Yeah, but the biggest one for me is just realize that, especially at commercial gyms, a lot of these racks, like the squat racks, mainly the squat racks, are like super sought after. So if you're not going to use it for squats.
No, I swear I just saw a centipede.
No, you're good.
Amir.
No, it's just a fly. You're good, don't worry. Yeah. Just be more mindful of that and try and use it exclusively for that. Even if it's going to inconvenience you, just try and find an alternative that if it's going to take up a squat rack, if that makes sense. Yeah. This is one thing I wanted to finish off on. Yeah. Off on. Yeah. Okay. You got anything for me?
Yeah. And I lost my train of thought because I thought I saw a centipede.
This girl's centipedes.
Man.
Did you see that video you sent? Oh, yeah, you sent me.
I showed it to you.
Yeah, you showed me. Why did I say that? Where literally the girl had the centipede on her hoodie.
Amir, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this video on TikTok. This girl was recording herself because she's like, oh my God, I saw a centipede and I don't know where it went. That is my fear, okay? That has happened to me in real life where I'm like, I see it and I run to go grab my bug killing spray and it's gone because these things move fast, okay? That's why I hate them. As she's recording herself, she's wearing a hoodie and she's crying. And the centipede is on her hood.
And it literally runs down her hood.
I would simply pass away. Like my heart cannot handle that.
The fact that she saw that after she recorded it.
I would die. Like actually my heart would stop from fear. Like, you could die from fear. Like being so scared that your heart that would be me. I cannot recover from that. There's no way.
Oh my god.
And that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Okay, guys. Thank you again for listening. It's been a long day. We recorded literally a podcast before this podcast, so we're a little gassed out now. But hopefully, whatever we talked about on this podcast was informative to you. And if you have any opinions about what we said, you can go ahead and leave them in the comments. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all our platforms, including TikTok, Instagram, and
give us a thumbs up.
Oh yeah, give us a thumbs up. Like the video. Is that what it is? It's still like the video. It used to be thumbs up. Now it's like the video.
No, it's still a thumbs up.
Is
it
it
just says like and then thumbs up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And we'll see y'all next week, inshallah.
Bye.